Welcome to The Point. We have another 27 minutes for you of something really exciting. We're talking about the human body. And today we're going to be talking about the human cell. We've got 100 trillion cells, and they're little factories. You're going to see in a moment. We're going to play a short 7-minute clip to show you what happens in each of your 100 trillion cells. Now, the guy who made this video is actually a very famous doctor. He's Professor Dean Kenyon, the Emeritus Professor of Biology at San Francisco State University. And he sees, you'll quite clearly see why, he believes in intelligent design. So let's take straight away 7 minutes and just look at this amazing video. And just remember, you've got 100 trillion cells, and this is what is happening in each one of your 100 trillion cells.
We have not the slightest chance of a chemical evolutionary origin for even the simplest of cells. So the concept of the intelligent design of life was immensely attractive to me and made a great deal of sense, as it very closely matched the multiple discoveries in molecular biology.
In the years since Kenyon's rejection of chemical evolution, science has revealed the details of an entire system of information processing that bears the hallmarks of intelligent design. With computer animation, we can enter the cell to view this remarkable system at work. After entering the heart of the cell, we see the tightly wound strands of DNA, storehouses for the instructions necessary to build every protein in an organism. In a process known as transcription, a molecular machine first unwinds a section of the DNA helix to expose the genetic instructions needed to assemble a specific protein molecule. Another machine then copies these instructions to form a molecule known as messenger RNA. When transcription is complete, the slender RNA strand carries the genetic information through the nuclear pore complex, the gatekeeper for traffic in and out of the cell nucleus. The messenger RNA strand is directed to a 2-part molecular factory called a ribosome. After attaching itself securely, the process of translation begins. Inside the ribosome, a molecular assembly line builds a specifically sequenced chain of amino acids. These amino acids are transported from other parts of the cell and then linked into chains often hundreds of units long. Their sequential arrangement determines the type of protein manufactured. When the chain is finished, it is moved from the ribosome to a barrel-shaped machine that helps fold it into the precise shape critical to its function. After the chain is folded into a protein, it is then released and shepherded by another molecular machine to the exact location where it is needed.
This is absolutely mind-boggling to perceive at this scale of size such a finely tuned apparatus, a device that bears the marks of intelligent design and manufacture. And we have the details of an immensely complex molecular realm of genetic information processing. And it's exactly this new realm of molecular genetics where we see the most compelling evidence of design on the Earth.
Well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, this is an emeritus professor of biology who's been studying the human cell and other things related to biology all his life. He's obviously a highly intelligent man. He's concluded, I believe quite correctly, that there's a supreme intelligence behind all life, and the Bible calls him Jesus Christ. We're going to start right at the very beginning, and we're all made of atoms. I've got lots of pictures to show you, so I'm going to show you some quick pictures. Here's an atom. You've probably heard of the atom. Well, basically an atom is mostly actually space, but it's lots of little tiny subatomic particles called electrons, which are whizzing very fast around a central nucleus. Now, if we can move on to the next slide, the point about atoms is they're absolutely stuffed full of energy. You've heard of the nuclear bomb? Well, that's energy contained within an atom. You've heard of our sun, it's not the human sun, the sun, which is 93 million miles away. Well, that is an example of nuclear fission because the atom has a massive amount of energy in it. And in our bodies, we have a massive amount of energy. Now, there's one huge question mark. How does the actual atom stay as it is? I want to look, before we do anything else, just simply look at the design of an atom. Here we are, a central nucleus. And actually the nucleus is made up of a proton, which is positively charged, and then a neutral neutron with no charge, and then the electrons, which are negatively charged. So the point is that the center is made up of a proton which has a positive charge, and then with a proton, a neutron as well with no charge at all, but whizzing around it very, very fast are all these electrons. Right, we're going to move on to a little textbook on the next slide called Electromagnetism. And you'll probably be familiar with electromagnetism. It's the same as magnets. You probably know that a north and a south pole attract each other. Well, it's the same with magnetic forces. Positive forces and negative forces attract each other. So the big question is, how is it that these negatively charged electrons go whizzing very fast around a positively charged proton, the nucleus, without imploding completely? Because they attract each other. And nobody knows why. Nobody knows why, but I'm going to give you what I believe is the truth. I don't know this is the truth. This is my personal belief, and it's from the Bible. It's because of Jesus Christ. This is what it says in Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. Here's the reflection of God's glory and the exact likeness of his being. Now listen to the next bit. And he holds everything together by his powerful word. Remember that Jesus is described as the Word. In the beginning was the Word. Now, I believe that the force holding the electrons, which are negatively charged, and the protons, which are positively charged, apart is the powerful Word of God, because there is no other explanation. They should all implode. In fact, in the future, there will be a time when that powerful force is withheld. And it happens when this universe, as we know it, burns up in fire. It's described in 2 Peter 3. It's in 1 Peter 3 verse 10, this is what it says, the heavens will disappear with a roar, the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare. So there will come a time when that force, the Word of God, is withdrawn, all the electrons and the neutrons will implode, and everything will disappear in what you and I would call an atomic bomb. I don't know if that's the truth, that's a theory. But it's a very interesting theory because nobody else knows why electrons and protons and neutrons stay separated as they do. However, all these atoms make up our cells, and remember we have 100 trillion of them, and all the cells individually make up molecules. The molecules make proteins, because we're made mostly of protein. And the scale of this thing is absolutely fantastic. The cells make tissues, which make organs, which make systems, and our whole body is made up of systems. Let me just give you some figures. That we make 300 billion new cells every day. We make 200 million cells per minute. Say that again. We make 200 million cells per minute. Well, how many cells do you think you have been actually made in your body since this program started? It's unbelievable, isn't it? This thing is absolutely massive, and what you have seen is that these are not, people talk about simple life forms. There is no such thing as a simple life form. The cell is the most complex thing you can possibly imagine. Now, I want to look just at some of the molecules that make up the cells. That is a molecule of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is very necessary for life because it carries oxygen. We all need oxygen. Well, that's how hemoglobin carries oxygen. I'm going to show you the actual formula, chemical formula for hemoglobin. The next slide. You don't have to remember that. All I want you to focus on is, I don't know if you can see it, but right in the middle is a little red mark, and it says Fe. That means iron. Right, now if you look at me, iron is really very important for life, because if we don't get enough iron, we get anemic. You've probably heard of iron deficiency anemia. It's a microcytic anemia. The details don't matter, but we all need iron. But, big but, iron is also very toxic. If you have too much iron, you're dead very quickly. In fact, in the last century, a lot of people died of iron poisoning because they used to cook in iron pots and the water was carried in iron pipes. Iron is a very dangerous substance, so our body has a lot of regulation to go on to make sure we have iron on board, not too little, not too much, just right. Let's move on now to another molecule, which you will have heard of. It's called DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. We've already done 2 programs on this. It's the most powerful genetic code in the universe. It is incredibly complicated. Let's look at what a molecule of DNA looks like. It is so complex, although we know what it looks like, we don't understand it. It is the most incredibly complicated genetic code in the universe. And every single cell of your body has 3 billion codes in it, with each DNA, with a DNA causing 3 billion separate codes, so that each heart cell becomes a heart cell, each lung cell becomes a heart cell. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens because God has designed us that way. I want to look now at what genes are. You've probably heard of genes. We've actually got a full complement of 20, let's get it right here. Let me read it out properly. We've got 23 chromosomes. Actually, the